Tom Billington, better known to the wrestling world as the Dynamite Kid, was one of the most revolutionary wrestlers of his era. His career, spanning from the mid-1970s to the early 1990s, left an indelible mark on professional wrestling. Known for his intense work ethic, innovative style, and unrelenting aggression, Dynamite Kid influenced generations of wrestlers, from Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero to modern stars like Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay. But his story is also one of immense physical sacrifice, as his relentless in-ring style ultimately led to a tragic post-wrestling life. Tom Billington was born on December 5, 1958, in Golborne, England, a small town in Lancashire. He came from a working-class background and was naturally small in stature, which made his path to professional wrestling more difficult than many of his contemporaries. However, what he lacked in size, he made up for in sheer determination, strength, and a fearless approach to physical combat. Billington began training in the famous Snake Pit Gym in Wigan, which was known for producing some of the toughest and most technically proficient wrestlers in the world. The gym specialized in catch wrestling, a submission-heavy, brutal form of grappling that was the foundation of many British wrestlers' styles. Under the tutelage of legendary trainers like Billy Riley and Ted Betley, Billington honed his skills and developed a highly technical and aggressive in-ring approach. At the age of 16, he made his professional wrestling debut in 1975, competing for Joint Promotions, the leading wrestling promotion in the UK. He quickly gained a reputation for his high-energy performances and fierce technical abilities, which stood out in the traditional British wrestling scene. Dynamite Kid's career took a major turn when he was invited to wrestle for Stu Hart's Stampede Wrestling in Canada. Stampede was a breeding ground for top-tier talent, and it was there that he truly developed into an elite performer. Under the mentorship of Stu Hart, and alongside future stars like Bret Hart and Jake Roberts, Dynamite refined his mix of speed, aerial maneuvers, and brutal strikes. His matches in Stampede Wrestling were some of the most physical and exciting in the promotion's history. Fans were drawn to his intensity, and despite his small frame, he quickly became one of the top stars in the promotion. It was also in Stampede that he formed a close partnership with Davey Boy Smith, his real-life cousin. The two would later become one of the most famous tag teams in wrestling history, the British Bulldogs. While thriving in Canada, Dynamite also began touring Japan, where his career would reach new heights. He became a mainstay in New Japan Pro Wrestling, competing in the junior heavyweight division, which was then still growing in popularity. It was in New Japan that he first encountered a rival who would define his career, Tiger Mask. Dynamite Kid's feud with Tiger Mask in the early 1980s is often cited as one of the greatest rivalries in wrestling history. Their matches were unlike anything seen before, fast-paced, highly athletic, and filled with innovative maneuvers that would become staples of modern wrestling. The first match between Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask took place on April 23, 1981, and immediately set the standard for what junior heavyweight wrestling could be. Their chemistry was undeniable, and their contests blurred the lines between technical wrestling, high-flying moves, and hard-hitting strikes. One of their most famous matches took place at Madison Square Garden in 1982, when New Japan was working in partnership with the WWF. This match introduced their innovative style to a North American audience, and it left many wrestlers inspired to push their own limits. Their rivalry continued for several years, and even today, their matches are studied by aspiring wrestlers looking to improve their technical and aerial skills. By the mid-1980s, Dynamite Kid had become an international sensation, and it was only a matter of time before the WWF took notice. Alongside Davey Boy Smith, Dynamite signed with the WWF in 1984, bringing their tag team, the the British Bulldogs, to the biggest wrestling promotion in the world. The Bulldogs quickly became one of the most exciting teams in the WWF, thanks to their explosive offense and seamless teamwork. Their biggest moment came at WrestleMania 2, where they defeated the Dream Team, Greg Valentine and Brutus Beefcake, to win the WWF Tag Team Championship. The Bulldogs' time in the WWF was marked by both success and internal conflict. Behind the scenes, Dynamite Kid was known for his intensity and short temper, sometimes getting into real-life fights with fellow wrestlers. He was also dealing with severe injuries, particularly a devastating back injury suffered in late 1986. Despite being nearly crippled, he continued wrestling, relying on painkillers and sheer toughness to get through matches. By 1988, tensions between the British Bulldogs and WWF management had reached a breaking point. Dynamite Kid's abrasive personality, injuries, and backstage altercations led to the Bulldogs leaving the company and returning to Stampede Wrestling. After leaving the WWF, Dynamite Kid continued wrestling in Japan and independent promotions, but his body was breaking down. Years of high-impact wrestling, substance abuse, and injuries had taken a toll. His last major run was in All Japan Pro Wrestling, where he teamed with Johnny Smith and had a brief resurgence. By 1991, his physical condition had deteriorated to the point where he could no longer compete at a high level. His final match took place on October 10, 1996 in Japan, where he wrestled without much of the speed and agility that had once defined his style. Years of injuries, steroid use, and drug abuse left him in constant pain. By the late 1990s, he was confined to a wheelchair due to severe spinal injuries. His personal life also suffered, with failed relationships and financial difficulties. Despite his hardships, his influence on wrestling remains immeasurable. Many of today's top stars credit Dynamite Kid as a major inspiration, and his matches with Tiger Mask are still studied as blueprints for junior heavyweight wrestling. Tom Billington passed away on December 5, 2018, on his 60th birthday. Though his life ended in hardship, his contributions to professional wrestling will never be forgotten. His legacy lives on in every high flyer, every technical master, and every wrestler who dares to push the boundaries of what's possible in the ring. Dynamite Kid's career was one of brilliance, intensity, and sacrifice. He helped revolutionize junior heavyweight wrestling, brought a new level of athleticism to the sport, and influenced an entire generation of wrestlers. But his legacy also serves as a cautionary tale about the physical and mental costs of professional wrestling. His story is one of triumph and tragedy, but above all, it's the story of a man who gave everything he had to professional wrestling, and then some.